At Your Body On, we like to push the limits of the human body, even if you don't have any training whatsoever. One of the most important skills to develop as an athlete is endurance. From running non-stop for miles to holding difficult positions for a long time, or climbing a monstrous mountain minus any ropes. Here are 3 of the toughest challenges we've featured. The marathon, one of the greatest feats of strength and endurance in the world. Some runners prepare for months, maybe even years. But for today's challenge, we're going to complete a marathon without any training. What kind of effects would it have on your body? Well, on today's episode, we're going to find out. This is Your Body On, running a marathon without training. It's common knowledge that a marathon is 42 kilometers long. But have you ever heard of an ultra-marathon? These are races where people run anywhere between 50 to 5,000 kilometers. Some races take place over several days. Nearly 50% of the competition fail to complete, but the rest do end up crossing the finish line. So if these people can run hundreds of kilometers, surely you can run a measly 42 kilometers, right? Right? Okay, let's get off the couch and do this thing, and see what's happening inside your body as you run. Your body shouldn't have a hard time handling this at the start. Even without training, you should be able to complete this distance within 10 minutes. And as you continue, your lungs will start to expand more rapidly. You'll also feel the need to breathe with just your mouth rather than your nose. This allows your body to pull in more oxygen and at a much quicker pace. So by now, you've been running for at least a half an hour. If you're not used to physical activity, this would probably be the point where you'd end your attempt. But that's not really our style on Your Body On. We finish our challenges, no matter how hard they might be. So get moving! As you continue running your marathon, you'll notice your body feeling much hotter. Let's take a closer look. At the beginning of the race, your core body temperature was around 37 degrees Celsius. Now, if you're not used to running, your temperature will rise to 39.4 degrees Celsius. This might not sound that bad, but it's the equivalent of a high fever. And the higher your core temperature is, the more difficult it is for your heart to pump blood out to your muscles. Think you can make it to the end? Let's keep going to find out. You're now about 2 hours into the marathon. You're incredibly exhausted, but the good news? Your body is burning an insane amount of calories. At the start of your run, your body was burning about 150 calories every hour, but now your body is burning nearly 800 calories per hour. That means that you could eat a Big Mac and a small order of fries and within an hour burn the entire meal off. Okay, now your run is becoming more difficult than ever before. You hit what's known as the wall. This happens after your body has burned its entire supply of glucose. Glucose is stored in your muscles and liver, and it's your primary source of energy during your run. Normally, experienced runners will start their marathon off slow to prevent this from happening. But you came bursting out of the gate, and now your glucose is expended, and it's harder than ever to keep running. Your muscles now need more to help operate, and as a result, you're feeling more sluggish than ever. By this point, you're at least 6 hours into this terrible idea. An experienced runner would be finishing this race with shin splints, stress fractures, and other muscle injuries. But for you, the muscle tears would be even worse. You'll also have an increased amount of lactate in your leg muscles, which will lead to cramps. At this point, you'll be lucky if you can crawl to the finish line. But your leg pain wouldn't even be the worst part of all this. Your kidneys would suffer even more. A 2015 study found that 82% of runners had stage 1 acute kidney injuries immediately following a marathon. These injuries happen when your kidneys aren't getting enough blood flow. They're also due to dehydration. During this time, your kidneys aren't able to filter toxins out of your blood.
So, yes, in theory, you could finish this marathon without any training, but you'd probably end up bruised and beaten, and possibly in a hospital bed. Yeah, this is a challenge you don't want to try. If you want to run a marathon safely, here's some advice. Coaches say that you should run a total of at least 48 kilometers per week for 5 to 6 weeks. And you should be able to do this comfortably if you want a real shot at this race. Remember to stretch as much as you can, to stay hydrated, and to walk when you're feeling weak. This will help you finish the race without any serious injuries. Follow this advice so you can kill this challenge instead of having it kill you. Okay, so you survived the marathon. Feeling tired yet? Now that your legs are jacked from all that running, let's test your endurance in another way. Ready for some rock-hard glutes? Let's see if you can squat for 24 hours. These people are challenging themselves to squat as much as they possibly can. Some make it up to 1,000 squats. Others might be able to do just a couple. But we're going to take this challenge to the extreme by squatting for 24 hours straight. How big would your legs and butt get? And do you think something like this is possible? This is Your Body On, squatting for 24 hours straight. So is something like this dangerous? Well, let me put it this way. In 2019, 2 teenagers in China challenged themselves to do 1,000 non-stop squats in 2 to 3 hours. And although they were sore immediately after their squat off, neither of them was initially worried. The next morning, however, they couldn't bend their legs, and their urine was a very unnatural brown color. And their story doesn't end there, but we'll tell you more later in the episode. For now, you have tons of squatting to do, and not just for 3 hours, but for 24 hours straight. No breaks. What long-term effects will this have on your body? Okay, stand up straight with your feet shoulder-width apart. Ready? Okay, let's begin. Bend your knees and hips and stick out your butt as if you were about to sit on a chair. Squat, squat, squat to the point where your thighs are parallel to the floor. Make sure your knees are over your ankles, not your toes. And be sure to keep your back straight. Okay, now push back up with your heels and stand up straight. There you go. 1 squat down, a few thousand more to go. Right away, your body will respond to these squats by stimulating parts of the body that allow you to exercise more efficiently. Your cardiorespiratory system will increase its activity. Your digestive system will slow right down. After 10 minutes, your heart rate will have increased, pumping more blood to your brain, making you more alert, and blocking any minor pain signals. It will also supply your muscles with more oxygen. Eventually, your legs will start to feel sore from the exertion, but we're going to push through that. After all, we're going for 24 hours, right? Squats target the glutes and the quadriceps in the lower part of the body and engage our core. They improve posture and strengthen the knees and joints by increasing the quantity of oxygen and blood flow to these parts, keeping them strong and supple. At this point in our workout, the cortisol levels in our body will have risen. Cortisol is a stress hormone that helps regulate metabolism, ensuring the body has sufficient energy to function. Eventually, increased cortisol levels will signal the body to use muscle protein as a source of energy. So, at this point, your butt wouldn't grow any bigger. By hour 3, dehydration will be a definite concern. You could be losing 1 to 3 liters of water every hour. This can lead to dizziness, vomiting, and muscle cramp. So hopefully you've been drinking a ton of water and sports drinks.
And if you were to stop now, you'd be relatively okay, at least at first. Just like those two teenagers were back in 2019. But it turns out, they weren't fine at all. Shortly after their squat-a-thon, they were rushed to the hospital and diagnosed with rhabdomyolysis. This skeletal muscle injury causes dead muscle fibers to be released into the bloodstream. It could lead to kidney failure or even death. So you should probably stop now. But let's say you continue. At this point, you might need to keep a few boxes of tissues within reach, as you'll likely have a runny nose. A 2006 study found that 56% of marathon runners suffer from exercise-induced rhinitis or runner's hay fever. As your breathing increases through strenuous activity, the mucous membranes in the nose produce mucus, often accompanied by a watery discharge. Okay, you've now been squatting for as long as the average Ironman competition, resulting in some severe stress being put on your body. A triathlete will burn more than 6,000 calories in a 12-hour race. 3/4 of the energy released by the muscles during this time will be in the form of heat waste. If allowed to accumulate, it could eventually lead to severe tissue damage. One more, almost there, and done. Phew, 24 hours and you're still standing. Okay, probably not, but let's imagine that you made it. Feels great, doesn't it? No, it most certainly does not. Your joints are all sore and stiff, and you're thirsty despite working hard to keep hydrated. You have a splitting headache and are having a tough time staying on your feet. And now watch out for any colds or infections. After an intense workout, there's a 72-hour window of impaired immunity where viruses and bacteria have an easier time invading and infecting the body. So, would doing squats for 24 hours be worth the effort? In a word, no. Sure, your legs and butt might feel strong and get bigger, but ultimately, it wouldn't be worth the injuries involved. Instead, do your squats in small amounts, like 3 sets of 10 squats, 2 to 3 times a week. But before you do any more squatting, it's time for your toughest challenge yet. Not only does endurance help us work out longer and complete marathons, but it can also save your life, especially if you're climbing a mountain with no ropes. Free soloing is one of the most challenging and dangerous sports out there. You either get it right the first time or fall to a painful death. So, before you try to monkey your way up that wall, you're going to need a lot of training, and not just physical. How do free climbers overcome their fear of falling? Think you have what it takes? Alright, tough guy, put on your climbing shoes and whatever you do, don't look down. This is Your Body On Free Climbing. When we talk about free climbing, it's not just some promotion at your local climbing gym. It's an extreme sport that requires stamina, endurance, and mental strength. While some of the pros go ropeless, known as free soloing, many free climbers still tether themselves in case they fall. The difference with rope climbing here is free climbers have no assistance when it comes to upward mobility. It all boils down to balance and determination. So, how exactly does one train for such an incredible feat? As free soloist Alex Honnold puts it, if you're a speed climber, you need iron legs and amazing lungs. But for bouldering, It's all about strong fingers and arms. Before you do any free climbing, you better train hard. Free climbers build and maintain their strength through regular exercise. We're talking press-ups, planks, leg lifts, running, skiing, cycling, and more. As Alex puts it, if you really want to be a good climber, you'll need to climb a lot. Strength is only half the battle. Flexibility is just as important. It will help to reduce injuries and to complete complex techniques like stemming, where you push against two opposing surfaces to balance, or a mantle, where you push down on a hold and bring your feet up to meet your hands. Better brush up on some yoga. While you might think having jacked arms and a firm grip are the keys to a successful climb, I wouldn't skip leg day if I were you. So, you're all trained and ready to climb. First things first, plan your route and look for footholds. Finding good footholds will help keep you balanced and give your arms a break. And if there isn't a good foothold, you can try smearing, where you rely on the rubber of your shoe for friction against the rock. Always try to keep your feet still and directly below you to maintain balance. You'll want your heels low so you have plenty of contact with the wall. The more rubber on the rock, the better. You don't have to be as jacked as Sylvester Stallone to be a good climber. The real key to a successful free climb is balance. Keep your arms straight so your skeleton takes on the weight. When you bend at your elbow, your muscles are doing unnecessary work to hold you up. Try to focus on your hips. Keep them pushed up against the wall so your weight is over your feet. This will allow you to lean back, making it easier to grip. Okay, looks like you're halfway up the wall. Just another 457 meters to go. Feeling a little sweaty and tired? It might be time to take a break. Even if you're trying to beat a speed record, resting is critical both on and off the wall. Climbing, when fatigued, will wear you out. No matter how much you power grunt like world champion climber Adam Ondra. It might be a good time to pitch a tent, have a protein-rich snack, and admire the view. Wow. Or, if you're trying to climb this mountain in a day, as Emily Harrington did, well, you better keep moving. Okay, you're about 610 meters up. No pressure. As much as you want to look down, try and resist the urge. When Alex Honnold decided to get an MRI of his brain, neurologists presented him with a series of images designed to disturb and excite him. Impressively, they found that Alex's amygdala, the fear processor of the brain, didn't show a strong response to the stimuli. Through countless hours of climbing, Alex has learned to overcome his fear with a well-honed regulatory system. With that said, for this final stretch, don't let fear get the best of you. Climbing can push your heart rate to between 120 and 180 beats per minute. Stay focused, breathe, and keep calm. If your palms are as sweaty as mine are right now, put some chalk on those puppies. Only a few hundred feet to go. You got this. Just one last push. Woohoo! You made it! Before you go taking selfies and admiring the view, be sure to stretch. Even the top climbers can suffer injuries. You might have carpal tunnel syndrome, tennis elbow, knee meniscus tears, or the dreaded climber's finger.
Nothing can stop the climb!
That's when your finger tendons are strained or torn, causing your fingers to swell up and stiffen. Free climbing can be pretty debilitating. So, you might want to book that massage you've been putting off. Or, how about 24 hours of hot yoga. That sounds like a challenge for another Your Body On.